Welcome back to Module 4 of C# looping. I'm your professor, Professor Fiske, and let's jump into for loops or for each loops. Now, for each loops are basically for loops that are wrapped with more code. Now, in the last module, you saw that we had an issue where we needed to define 3 specific parameters for for loops. The first parameter was the initializer. That's our variable that's holding our count. The second variable or second parameter is our Boolean expression, that as long as that Boolean expression is not true, it will continue to run until it is true. I'm sorry, as long as that Boolean expression is true, it will continue to run until it isn't true. I always get that backwards. Just understand that it will stop when that expression is I'm going to say true. We're going to go true because we're going to look at the code again and I'm going to show it to you again. I always get it backwards. I apologize. I write it so many times, it just I lose track of what the answer really is. So with that being said, our for each loop encapsulates the for loop. Basically, it does all the work for us without us having to think about it. No initializers, no nothing. So if I went back to Visual Studio, you'll see we have our for loop here. We have a variable that's initialized to 0. We have our sentinel value, our Boolean expression, our question, right? The way we read this is as long as I is less than cars.count, or as long as I is less than 4, right? As long as I is less than 4, which is true, then I want you to run this program. And once that becomes false, I is no longer less than 4, it'll stop running. I knew it was right the first time. I don't know why I was second guessing myself. And then I++, increment by I at the end of each loop, at the end of each iteration. Well, you know what? This is a lot of work because not only do I have to write 4 parameters and determine how big the list is, but I also have to index the list and some other jazz. And you know what? Like I said, that's a lot of work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to create a for each loop. Now, what a for each loop does for me is all the things that I just did. But now I don't have to do that anymore. Notice there's no counter. There's no initializer. There's no Boolean expression. There's none of that. All we're doing is we're saying, I want you to loop through the list cars, take every value per iteration and dump it into the string variable car. And when this list is finished, there's no more list left. Don't do that anymore. So let's run it so you can see what it looks like. So just like in our last programming session, in our last iteration of this module, we have our 4 positions filled with our truck manufacturers in our list, cars, okay? Notice we don't have an iterator, but I do have the 0th position of the list, Chevy, is now filling the variable car. And that's very important because now I can use this variable car within these 2 curly braces as many times as I want because this is scoped to the for each loop and I can do whatever I want with it. I can save it, I can print it, I can make the computer say it. But what's going to happen? Well, it's going to print the value of the 0th iteration or what it's in the 0th position. And the same is true for each subsequent iteration. And you see how it's changing on it? Now it's forward. Now it's RAM. And if I go to my debugger here, it went to RAM. Now notice something very interesting. We're here at the last curly brace. Is this going to go back and determine whether it needs to do it again? Yes, it will. And once it determines that there is nothing left in cars, it is completely finished. For all intents and purposes, I see for each loops all the time. They're the easiest programming loop or iterative statement to write. And in the end, they're my favorite. So, like I said, if you've liked these videos, please like and subscribe. They really help and they go a long ways. Otherwise, happy coding. Good luck. Have fun. Ciao.